Welcome to the HFY Codex Tale. If you like our videos, keep supporting and subscribe to our channel. The human who wouldn't bow. The alien crowd was already laughing before the human even entered the arena. From the high metal stands, they pointed at the screen. They threw glowing food cubes. They made jokes in their harsh language. One word echoed more than the rest. Weakling. The gates hissed open. A single human stepped into the light. His name was Jaren. No armor, no weapons, just a gray shirt, old boots, and a pair of calm, steady eyes. He didn't raise his hands. He didn't speak. He just walked across the cracked arena floor, his shadow stretching behind him. In front of him, on the far side, the ground shook. Korvax, the alien champion, smashed his hammer against the floor. The crowd roared. He was 3 times Jaren's size, skin like stone, tusks sharp as knives, covered in armor glowing with ancient power. "You are the challenger," Korvax laughed. "Where is your armor, human? Where is your fear?" Jaren stopped a few steps away and looked up. "You talk too much," he said. The crowd went silent for a second. Then the laughter returned, louder, crueler. Earlier that day, Jaren hadn't even planned to fight. He was just a mechanic, working at dock level 14, fixing fuel lines on alien freighters. He didn't bother anyone. He didn't speak much. But when 2 alien guards tried to beat up a smaller human boy for fun, Jaren stepped between them. He didn't threaten, he didn't raise his fists. He just looked at them. Something in his eyes made them stop. But the crowd had seen, and the alien governor had seen too. "If the human wants to act like a warrior," the governor said, "then let him prove it in the pit." That's how Jaren ended up here, in the arena, facing the champion. The ground cracked under Korvax's heavy steps. He raised his hammer, the weight of it humming with energy. "I will make your bones sing, little man," the alien growled. Jaren didn't move. The announcer's voice boomed through the sky speakers. "Let the battle begin." Korvax charged. The ground trembled. The hammer came down like a mountain falling. But Jaren was no longer there. With one smooth step, he moved to the side. The hammer smashed into the floor, sending dust flying. Jaren stayed calm, silent. Korvax growled, "You dodge like a rat." He swung again, wild, fast. Jaren ducked, stepped in, tapped the champion's leg with the side of his foot. It wasn't an attack, it was analysis. Korvax didn't even feel it. But Jaren had learned what he needed to know. In the royal seats above the arena, the alien king frowned. "Why hasn't the human attacked?" he asked. His advisor leaned forward. "He's studying." "Studying?" "Yes, my king, he's not fighting with rage, he's watching." The king's eyes narrowed. Below, Korvax roared and lifted his hammer again. Jaren suddenly stepped forward. No fear. One movement sharp, perfect, his hand striking Korvax in the side of the knee. A soft snap followed. The alien screamed and stumbled. The crowd gasped. Korvax turned, face twisted with rage. "You dare?" He never finished. Jaren's hand moved again. 2 fingers struck the alien's neck. Then he spun behind him, grabbed one wrist, and twisted. Korvax collapsed. Not dead. Not bleeding. But broken. And afraid. Jaren stood over him. The crowd was silent. Jaren looked up at the king's box and raised his voice, not loud, but sharp like a blade. "You wanted entertainment. You got a lesson instead." "And what is that, human?" the king shouted. Jaren turned and walked away from Korvax. "Don't challenge something just because it looks quiet. Some humans don't bark, they bite." As the gates opened again and Jaren stepped out of the arena, whispers spread through the stands. "Who is he? How did he beat Korvax? He didn't even use a weapon." But in the shadows of the holding cells below, someone else was watching Jaren too. A figure in black armor, seated behind a glass wall. He didn't laugh, he didn't cheer. He just leaned forward and whispered, "I know that style. He's not just a mechanic, he's from Earth's ghost unit." And suddenly, the challenge had just begun. The arena was supposed to break him. The cell door slammed shut behind him. Jaren stood still. No pain, no scratches, no emotion. Just silence. The guards walked away quickly, not daring to look him in the eye. Even they had felt it, something dark in him, something not normal. He was supposed to die in the arena. But instead, he won. Without a weapon, without a single scream. In the arena tower above, the alien king stood in his war room, staring at a replay of the fight. He watched Jaren move, fast, quiet, smart. This human, the king said, where did he learn to fight like that? An officer in golden armor answered. No records, no military background, says he's a dock worker from Earth, grew up poor. No poor human moves like this, the king growled. He leaned closer to the screen. Frame by frame, he watched Jaren's fingers strike the alien's knee. Exact pressure, exact angle. Then the neck, then the joint. Too fast for luck. Too perfect for chance. This wasn't a fight, the king said. It was a warning. Back in the cell, Jaren sat in the corner, staring at the wall. But inside his head, he wasn't in the cell anymore. He was back in the war. Back on Earth, back when everything went dark. He saw his old team, laughing around a campfire. Then screaming. Then silence. He was the only one left. A loud noise snapped him out of the memory. The cell wall glowed red, a hologram activated. A voice spoke deep, smooth, cold. Jaren of Earth, you've drawn attention. The king wants more blood. Jaren didn't answer. You will fight again tomorrow, against a new champion. Still, Jaren said nothing. The voice changed. If you refuse, we'll choose someone else. Maybe another human, maybe a child. Jaren's eyes opened slowly. His voice was quiet. I'll fight. The next day, the crowd was larger. Wilder. They had seen the first match. Now they wanted more. They wanted blood. Is he really human? One alien asked. No way, he's something else. I heard he doesn't feel pain. I heard he used to eat alien hearts. Jaren stood at the arena gate, calm. His hands were loose. His eyes were blank. The next challenger entered from the other side. A beast of war, 4 arms, armor made of bones, claws like blades. His name was Skurath, a killer from the ice moons, never defeated, never wounded. He roared at the crowd. They roared back. The announcer's voice echoed. Fighter 2, Jaren of Earth, weaponless. The crowd booed. Let him die. Crush the human. End it fast. The horn sounded. Skurath charged like a storm. Jaren didn't move. Not until the last second. Then 1 step, 2 turns, a slide, a grip. Skurath stumbled. His front foot twisted awkwardly, his leg bent the wrong way. He dropped to 1 knee. The crowd gasped. It's a trick. He didn't even hit him. But Skurath knew. He looked up at Jaren, eyes wide, chest heaving. What are you? Jaren stepped closer. Someone who's already died once. Then he turned his back and walked away. Skurath didn't follow. He didn't roar. He dropped his weapon and kneeled. Up in the royal box, the alien king clenched his fists. He didn't even kill. He doesn't have to, the advisor said. He wins with fear. Later, alone in the chamber, Jaren stared at his hands. They didn't shake. They never did. But his heart, it was heavy. Every fight brought back memories. Every step in the arena brought him closer to the edge. This place, he whispered, wants me to become what I used to be. He closed his eyes. But I won't. But in the shadows above the arena, a cloaked figure stood silently. Watching, recording, and whispering into a communicator. He's still alive, the last ghost. Do we move in? No, not yet. Let the galaxy see what happens when you challenge a human. They wanted blood, but they got fear. The alien arena was built for violence. Every wall was made to echo screams. Every seat was carved from stone soaked in history. It was a place where the weak were broken and the strong were celebrated. But today, the crowd was quiet. Not bored. Afraid. Jaren had won 2 matches, without using weapons, without shouting, and without killing. And yet, no one wanted to challenge him now. Even the guards lowered their heads when they passed his cell. Even the announcers whispered his name instead of shouting it. In the king's tower, the mood had shifted. "He is poison," said one general. "To fear him is weakness. We must kill him before more follow." But the king was no fool. He watched the replay of the second fight, eyes narrowed. He paused the screen where Skurath, a legendary killer, kneeled before Jaren. That single image was now spreading across hundreds of star systems. The humans were supposed to be animals, the king growled, not symbols. Meanwhile, in the prison halls below, another kind of silence spread. Other fighters from different worlds, tall, strong, dangerous, stared through their bars as Jaren passed. Some nodded with respect. Some looked away. And one whispered to himself, "He fights like he's already seen the end of the world." But Jaren didn't walk like a hero. He walked like a man carrying a quiet war inside his heart. He never smiled, never bragged, and never asked for kindness. When asked why he didn't kill his opponents, he simply said, "I've done enough killing." And that sentence traveled faster than light. That night a guard came to his cell, nervous, eyes twitching. "New order from the king. You fight again tomorrow, but this time it's not just for survival." "What do you mean?" Jaren asked. "They want you to kill, in front of the nobles, in front of the galaxy." "And if I do?" The guard swallowed hard. "They'll kill someone else, a prisoner, a human, a child." Jaren didn't speak for a moment. Then he nodded. "I'll be there." The next day, the arena looked different. Cleaned, decorated, full of high-class aliens, nobles, generals, council members. The fight had been announced as a grand event, the human execution. Cameras hovered in the air, live streaming across 5 sectors. This time, Jaren was led to the center early. No opponent yet. Just him, and a tall, red-skinned noble stepped forward to speak. "This is the human who thinks mercy makes him strong." The crowd chuckled. "Today he will show us blood or show us cowardice." The gate opened. Out came a young alien girl. Small, light armor, no weapons. Her hands were chained. "She's a prisoner," the noble said, "but if the human won't kill her, we will." Jaren's eyes burned. "She's not a fighter." "Then make it fast." Jaren stepped between her and the guards. "You want fear," he said. He turned to face the entire crowd. "Then listen." The arena screens flickered, hacked. His voice spread to every corner of the galaxy. "I don't fight because I want to win. I fight because I remember. I remember the cost of war. The screams, the fire, the friends I buried. You want blood to feel powerful. I want peace because I've seen what power becomes when it loses its soul." He dropped to one knee beside the girl and looked up at the king's seat. "I will not kill an innocent." "Then you die," the king said coldly. The guards raised their weapons. The crowd held its breath. But suddenly, the screen flickered again. A new voice came through the broadcast. "Stand down. That human is under Earth's protection." All eyes turned to the sky. A massive shadow moved across the sun. A human warship. Heavy, ancient, deadly. Its symbol, Ghost Unit, retired, never forgotten. Inside the ship, a woman stood at the controls. "Jaren, you're not alone anymore." The alien champion fell to his knees. The arena had never been this quiet. Not after a match, not before one. But now the silence was heavy. Because everyone had seen the symbol. The human warship in the sky, the one carrying the Ghost Unit emblem. That mark meant one thing. Earth wasn't watching anymore, Earth was warning. Jaren sat in the same cell as always, no change in expression. He didn't look up when the guards brought food. He didn't ask about the ship. He just waited. Because he knew what would come next. They couldn't kill him now. So they would try to break him another way. In the war chamber above the arena, the alien king stood before his generals. We gave him 2 weaklings, the king growled. Now we give him a real fight. A general leaned forward. We could bring in a war beast. No, the king snapped. Beasts die too fast. We need someone who understands fear, but has none of it left. The room fell quiet. Then someone whispered a name. Gravek. Gravek was not a fighter. He was a killer bred for war. He didn't talk, he didn't sleep, he didn't stop. He was kept in chains for 22 years, because no one could control him. Until now. The next day, the arena filled with beings from every planet. Word had spread across systems. Aliens came not to see who would win, but to see if the human would finally break. Jaren stepped into the arena alone. As always, his hands were loose, his steps calm. Then the second gate opened, and Gravek walked in. 7 feet tall, covered in thick black skin like armor. Yellow eyes, no armor, no weapons. He didn't need them. The crowd leaned forward. Even the cameras zoomed in. Gravek walked straight toward Jaren, then stopped. Their eyes met. No words, just silence. And then, Gravek dropped to one knee. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Even Jaren's eyes narrowed. Why, he asked softly. Gravek raised his head. Because I saw what you did. You had power, you had a choice, and you chose mercy. I never had a choice, Gravek whispered, until now. He looked up at the king's box and roared. I will not fight the one who walks like death, but carries life. In the king's seat, rage burned across his face. He refuses again. The human didn't even raise a hand, someone shouted. He defeated 3 champions without breaking a sweat. No, the king shouted. This isn't victory, it's infection. His weakness is spreading. Back in the arena, Gravek turned to Jaren. You gave us something they can't control. What's that? Jaren asked. Hope. Then Gravek stood, nodded, and walked away, leaving the entire arena in stunned silence. Jaren turned to leave too. But before he stepped through the gates, he looked back once, just once. And for the first time, he smiled. In the shadows of the crowd, dozens of prisoners, fighters, and guards watched silently. One by one, they placed a hand on their chest. The salute of the ghost unit. Not to a killer, not to a king, but to a human who wouldn't bow, wouldn't break, and wouldn't be forced to destroy. That night, across hundreds of starships and alien networks, a new message appeared. It showed Gravek on his knee. It showed Jaren walking away. The words underneath were simple. They sent a monster to stop a human, but the human woke the monster's soul. They tried to break his spirit. They couldn't beat him in the arena. They couldn't shake him with monsters. They couldn't turn the crowd against him. So now they aimed for something else. Something deeper. Jaren didn't know her name at first. She was just a small human girl, maybe 10 years old. Scared, thin, eyes full of confusion, they placed her in the cell across from him. And they made sure he saw it. She was caught stealing food, a guard said coldly. The punishment is public execution. Jaren stood up, fists clenched. She's just a child. Then make a deal, the guard said. Fight one more time, no rules, no mercy, and we'll let her go. Jaren's jaw tightened. You want me to kill again? The guard smiled. Or watch someone else die instead. Later that night, Jaren sat in silence, staring at the wall. He could feel her eyes watching him through the bars. Are you going to save me? She asked, voice small. He looked at her. I don't know. She hugged her knees. Everyone else said the same thing. His heart hurt more than any injury he'd felt in the arena. The next morning, the arena was packed again. The king sat higher than ever before, his face full of pride. This time, there would be no opponents. Just Jaren and a machine made for destruction. A war drone, 8 feet tall, powered by plasma cores, designed to kill anything in seconds. No mercy. No soul. Exactly what the king wanted Jaren to become. As Jaren walked toward the center, the announcer's voice echoed. If he refuses to kill, the girl dies. Cameras zoomed in on her tiny face. She sat in a glass box beside the king's throne, guarded, shaking. The drone activated, its red lights flared, its arms split into spinning blades. The crowd waited. Would the human finally become like them? The drone lunged. Jaren dodged once, twice. He didn't fight back. Not yet. Kill it, the crowd shouted. Do it for the girl. Be what we want. But Jaren heard none of them. He was back in the war again, back when he'd been forced to take orders, back when people said killing was the only way. And now the same voice returned. Only this time it was his own. I'm not a weapon. The drone charged again. This time Jaren moved differently. Not to defend, not to attack, but to end it. One smooth strike to the power core, then a jump, a twist, a crack of light. The drone collapsed, but not destroyed. Deactivated. Jaren stood over it, breathing hard. Then he looked up at the king. I finished the fight, now keep your word. The king stood slowly. You think you control me? He raised a hand. The guard next to the girl reached for his blaster. Jaren's heart froze. No, he whispered. Then a flash of light. Not from the king. From above. A metal disc fell from the sky, hitting the guard's weapon, knocking it from his hand. Enough. All eyes turned to the sky screen. It was the same woman from the warship, a ghost unit commander. You touch that girl again, and Earth will respond. With what? The king shouted. With us. Suddenly, dozens of ships decloaked in orbit. Earth's old army. Silent, armed, furious. They didn't fire. They didn't need to. Because for the first time in his rule, the king saw something he never expected. His people stood up. Not to fight, but to walk away. Thousands left the arena in silence. Back in the cell, Jaren sat beside the girl. He didn't speak. He just held her hand. Why did you help me? She asked softly. Because once, Jaren said, someone helped me. That night, the arena stayed dark. The king ordered every screen turned off. But it didn't matter. Because across the stars, a message was already spreading. They tried to break the human's spirit. Instead, they awakened their own. A human, wrath is not meant for gods. The king's palace burned with silence. No crowd cheers. No war horns. Just tension. Jaren's face was everywhere, on alien news screens, in whispers across starships, and in the minds of leaders who once thought humans were weak. The girl he saved had been released. The war machines had been stopped. The arena was shut down. But the king wasn't done. Not yet. You think you're a symbol, he growled, watching Jaren's face on the screen. You're just a scar we haven't removed yet. Back in the cell, Jaren stood alone. The girl had been sent to a safe ship. He was ready to leave. But the doors never opened. Instead, footsteps came. Not guards. Someone heavier. Stronger. The door slid open. And the king himself walked in. Wearing armor. Holding a blade made of living plasma. Behind him, 10 soldiers. Jaren didn't move. No more games, the king said. Agreed, Jaren replied softly. You made my people question me, made soldiers kneel, made monsters walk away. You want peace. I want truth, Jaren said, and you're afraid of it. The king's eyes burned. Then I'll show you what power really is. He lunged. Fast. Too fast for a ruler. But not fast enough for a ghost. Jaren stepped aside, grabbed the king's wrist, twisted. The blade fell. The soldiers raised their weapons. And froze. Because suddenly, they recognized Jaren. Not from the arena, but from war records, classified. That's him, one whispered. Ghost Zero, the one who ended the Crimson War with his bare hands. He was erased from history, another said. He wasn't just a soldier, he was the fail-safe. Jaren didn't attack. He simply looked at the king, now on his knees. You called yourself a god. But gods don't need cages, they don't fear words, they don't break when one human speaks. The king shouted, I had to control them. Without fear, I had nothing. You had a throne built on silence, Jaren said, and silence breaks. He turned to the soldiers. You followed a tyrant, but today you saw something else. You saw what happens when someone stands without raising a blade. Are you ready to stand too? No one moved. Then one by one, the soldiers dropped their weapons. Outside the tower, the people waited. They saw the doors open, and they saw Jaren walk out alone. No chains, no guards, just a calm man carrying the king's crown in one hand. He didn't wear it. He dropped it at the base of the steps. No more kings. Across the galaxy, the news exploded. Planets that once mocked Earth now sent messages of respect. Aliens who once feared humans now asked to learn from them. And Jaren, he didn't return to the arena. He didn't accept medals. He asked for one thing. Let the fighters go home and burn the arena to the ground. Later that night, far from the crowds, he stood alone on a hill outside the city ruins. The ghost unit commander from the ship walked up beside him. You know, she said, we didn't come to save you. We came because we thought you were lost. I was, Jaren whispered. But now, she asked. He looked at the stars. Now they know, humans aren't gods, we're not monsters. We're something worse. We're the ones who rise when we're supposed to fall. He walked away, and the galaxy changed. The arena was gone. Ashes. The stone floors that once drank blood were now rubble. The towers that held screaming crowds had fallen silent forever. No more fights. No more fear. No more chains. And the man who started it all was already gone. Jaren didn't wait for applause. He didn't wait for medals. He left before the fires cooled. No one knew which ship he boarded. No one saw which stars he vanished into. He just walked away. But his name stayed. It stayed on every screen. Every whisper. Every heart. Children across a dozen planets now learned his story, not as a killer or a warrior, but as the human who said no. No to cruelty. No to fear. No to the games. On a water world called Laren Prime, an alien boy was bullied in school for being too small. He stood up one day, fists shaking, and said, You think I'm weak, so did a king. The bullies backed away. They remembered the name. On a mining colony, a group of ex-slaves refused to fight for entertainment anymore. They didn't raise weapons. They raised their voices. The station commander tried to crush them, until the workers locked arms and shouted, We are human in spirit. The commander never spoke again. In the heart of the Galactic Council, once cold to Earth's name, a statue was raised. Not of Jaren with a weapon. Not of him in armor. But of him standing still. One hand open. One child behind him. And the words below. Strength is not the power to destroy. It's the power to choose not to. Many searched for him after that. Reporters, soldiers, even scholars. But no one ever found Jaren again. Some say he returned to Earth. Others believe he walks among stars, helping quietly without ever revealing his name. Only one thing is certain. The galaxy is not the same. Because now, people believe in something new. Not gods, not empires, but the idea that one person, even one human, can change everything, without ever drawing blood. Somewhere on a small, forgotten planet, a man with calm eyes watches the sunset. A child runs up beside him, laughing, alive, safe. He smiles, not because he's famous, not because he's feared, but because, finally, he's free. The end.